panel talked, our presenter, I should say, talked a little bit about how important social media is. But if you don't have a network, then you really need to ask the journalists to help you do some of the heavy lifting to get the word out there. And that's what you guys do great. You guys are great at it. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And so many times platforms, particularly even when they're preparing to launch, they will come to leverage PR just to even generate some awareness that the platform is there. And every platform is different. We're finding a lot of specialized platforms. One platform may target just YouTube subscribers. Another platform may target just equity. Another may target just donation space. So you have
authors.
Absolutely, authors or alumni groups. Everyone's focusing on different things. And so add to that the fact that when we're talking to the press, there is so much education not only that's needed in the small business community, but there's a ton of education just needed for the media. Yeah. So we've spent a lot of time with the Wall Street Journal, with the New York Times, with investors.com and various media outlets, mainstream media outlets that are really paying attention to this sector and saying, we still don't understand what it is. Yes, we want to talk to your client and understand how they're facilitating and navigating through this space, but please help us to understand it. And then you add to the fact that there are different types of crowdfunding. Add to the fact that now you have intrastate models and we're still waiting on Title III. So there's a lot of messages that the media is being bombarded with. And so it's our job to really try to educate them so that when they tell their story, they tell it the right way and the small business owner gets it as well as the investor gets it, because you have to bring both to the party in order to make crowdfunding successful. And to what my colleague said here earlier, mainstream media is so connected to social media now. You know, an article could run on a media outlet, a major media platform, and that same article could be reposted or a link to that article could be retweeted. And so everything is so intertwined and very connected. And so our space is very important because the way we're telling the story supports the entire industry. We have to be an advocate for the industry. We have to make sure that mainstream, social media, the blogger, you know, the entire kind of media marketplace understands this space and understands it well so that the entire industry can thrive.
Well, thank you for that, because I've met with Joy a number of times, and your CEO, and around the country, Palo Alto. I had to come all the way here to Atlanta to realize that you guys are really pushing on the mission closest to my heart. So thank you for that. That's beautiful. I really appreciate that, Kim. Very good. Okay.
I think the only thing I have to add to this is, so Alvin earlier talked about his workshop about really crowdfunding was the activation of crowds on social media. And I think having worked in social media, how I used to like to think about it is like, it's a three-step process. You're trying to bring your offline community into online, into social media. And the holy grail of social media consulting, everyone always asks, like, how do you turn your Facebook likes or your Twitter followers into actual money, dollar signs? And that's really crowdfunding. And there are academic papers that show the correlation between your social media size and how much you're able to fundraise. And I think one other stat I can kind of throw to that is, we know that if you're able to raise the first 20% in the first 2 days, your campaign has a 90% chance of success. And so there are two really big figures that go to that: the crowdfunding goal that you have and how large your community is. And so if you're able to set the right target, set the right goal, knowing your community and knowing your means, you can be successful almost every time.
All right.
That's a very interesting fact, actually. Is that the fact from your platform? Or?
Yes.
Because Kickstarter, I actually know it's actually around the same. If you get 20%, it's actually 80% chance of success, so it's interesting to see that. But to go on what Kim was saying, is I really believe crowdfunding it's the staple of raising money online. It's in the future, in 5-10 years, if you want to raise funds for a charity, for your cause, for your business, real estate, the way you do that is crowdfunding. It's whether it's called crowdfunding or raising money, that's the mechanism. So it's really the future of raising money.
Okay, now I have to apologize, guys, because I thought I was going to be a panelist. I didn't realize I was going to be the moderator. So I got to kind of backtrack here. Catherine, Kim, I got. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to give your name again, so I have it.
Elon.
Elon, thank you, Elon. Okay. And
Patrick.
Patrick. Okay, thank you, Patrick. I have your card and I forget your name.
And Herwig, Herwig.
Herwig. Sounds like something out of Harry Potter.
That's Belgium.
So my fault. It's a blind date.
All
It's
right,
a blind
very good.
panel.
All right, guys. So why don't you make a suggestion, because we're crowdfunding, we're democratization, of where you think this panel should put its focus right now. Elon?
I think the focus really needs to be in communicating to the public more than anything else at this point. And that is the awareness is what's missing. And and the way you really have to do that is to get yourself out there on all that social media platforms that you have connections with. So that's Facebook, that's LinkedIn, or that's G+, any platform that's in the social category, getting yourself out there and making sure that people you're connected with know that you're involved in the industry and that you want them to see different types of projects and campaigns and get them to see the successful ones. Get them to see, the people that are working on creating something new that's cool and help share it to be able to get more people to understand what crowdfunding is all about.
Thanks.
I agree. I think the other component of this is not just awareness. I think there's such a lack of education, which we've talked about for the last 2 days. And I think if you can take your platform, just for us and what we're trying to do in social good, and as I talk to people, it's hysterical when I go to cocktail parties or wherever, and someone's like, so what are you up to these days? I say, well, I'm working on a social good crowdfunding platform with a GPR product. And they're like, so what is crowdfunding? And I always explain it as, well, have you ever heard of political fundraising? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's crowdfunding. And it is the one tangible thing that people get. It's not always the best connotation, but it's something that they can get their head around real easily. And then I go into more detail and explain it. And so one of the things that we want to do at We Care Card is provide resources and educational tools, not just for us to promote campaigns that might be successful and generate money, but ultimately be a resource hub for people to come and be educated on what is social good crowdfunding. What is crowdfunding in and of itself? It's almost like we have in our 2.0 build out that'll be out in July a link that is crowdfunding 101, and it's infographics, it's videos, it's tools, it's a whole resource database for people to understand what the industry is all about. So I think education is key, backing the awareness.
And I would agree. Education is huge. And again, from the place that I sit, it's not only educating the small business owner and the investors, but also educating the media so that the wrong messaging doesn't get out there. And we do a lot of message management when we're talking to the mainstream and small tier press. I would also say that education is important because if we're not careful, crowdfunding will continue to only be a game where the wealthy play. And really the basics of crowdfunding is to get it down to the crowd, to the basic masses, that small business owner that wouldn't even have a fighting chance to have an opportunity to, start their business or continue or maintain their business. And that's why it's so important, like interstate crowdfunding. And when Title III finally passes, we support a lot of platforms that are doing equity raises, big time equity raises, but it's only for accredited investors. And of course, a part of the messaging behind that is, well, out of all the accredited investors, they're only 3% investing. So really, we're democratizing the process to include more accredited investors, which we're not opposed to that, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, if crowdfunding is still going to continue to be a game for just the wealthy of the wealthiest, then we really haven't broken through. And so
We failed.
yeah, and so it has to really, and it's going to be that education. And you know, at the end of the day, a small business owner may not understand the realm of finance and some of the things we talked about earlier, reviewing offering sheets and having a business, you know, just the basics. You know, they just have a great product, they have a passion for it, they want to get it out there, but they're clueless about business and finance, all of the key components that are needed to really build a successful revenue generating business. Like, everybody didn't go to school for that. And so if we don't take that ownership of true education, it will always, you know, the people that will really benefit from crowdfunding can still continue to be the wealthiest of the wealthiest. I mean, you have venture capitalists that are now getting involved in crowdfunding. You have some banks that are now getting involved in crowdfunding. It's not just the tech person that launched the platform and has some expertise. People are getting in on this game. And so, and the people who understand it and understand finance and already have a background, a solid background in investing and private equity and all of these things, they're going to win at that game too. So we do have to be careful to really drive it down to the masses.
Great. Yeah. Good point. Thank you. Patrick?
I think I'll deviate from the education piece since the last two speakers talked about it. But I think one lesson I learned recently was actually from one of my friend's startups. So about 2 years ago, we were in student government together. And student government had $40,000 to give away. And this is before crowdfunding really had a term, but we were like, wouldn't it be cool if we created a platform where people could pitch their ideas and then we can help give that $40,000 away? And we called that platform Joint Start. And it was a huge success because before, people were doing paper ideas, people couldn't see the ideas, there was no kind of exchange, no collaboration. And really, I think part of the success of crowdfunding is that exposure piece. And so what was really interesting to me is my buddy, his name is David Chen, he goes around and he asks people, how can we improve our platform? Because this is something I want to do after college. And no one really talked about the money. They're like, well, if you can make my profile picture look better on the website, that'd be cool. If you can make the website look a little better, that could be cool. And so his company took a big pivot. It was no longer about crowdfunding. The company is now called Strikingly. It's a simple, easy-to-use website. It's a one-pager. And they raised $1.2 million. They're a YC, Y Combinator-backed company. And I think one of the most interesting things I learned is people that go on crowdfunding, they're selling their products mostly at cost. They're not making that much money. So really, what's that bigger end game for them? It's exposure. You know, Kickstarter projects that still fail, they'll consider it a success if they get, you know, that PR piece, if they get that exposure. And so I think we need to really, and it goes back to what was discussed earlier, but it's really this trial, really talking to the people. Really, you know, when we talk about social media, we feel like it's computer to computer, right? It's all in this black box, and we forget that it's all about humans, right? It's the more that we're able to connect with each other, the more powerful your crowdfunding campaign, the more powerful your network, the more powerful and hopefully successful you'll be in whatever you decide to do.
And Patrick, did you say it was Strike Zone?
Strikingly, sorry. Strikingly.com. STRIKING.
Oh, okay. Strikingly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess what I really have to offer is sort of the equity side, because that's very much so my industry. And the bottom line is it's education. To give a statistic, what Kim was talking about, there's actually about 260,000 active angel investors each year that invest in businesses. There's 9 million Americans that qualify. That's a very, very small percentage of people just even investing. This isn't crowdfunding. This is traditional private placement investing. And so really it's about educating the crowd and really growing the user base. So the reference that I like to use a lot is Shark Tank. If you've ever seen Shark Tank, you simply say, hey, well, do you want to become a shark? I mean, if you've ever seen the show, about everybody has their own opinion when the idea walks in. It's what we're doing. It's investing. It's crowdfunding. So it really is about education, about making it simple and easy, and in the end, it's exposure, because what it really is an experience and not just a financial opportunity.